Finally, I started to really study the charts, and I just spent day in, day out, nights looking at the charts when I wasn't working. You get to look back and see, okay, which ones were the ones that I was always losing on, versus when you're just in the midst of it and you're not really tracking it, you're just like, oh, I don't really remember which ones I lost on a week ago or 5 weeks ago. And so that's so helpful to review and see what's working. And by the way, I think everyone needs to understand is that there are different techniques that work for different people, because everyone's personality is different, everyone's discipline is slightly different. And so you may find that certain things work for you better that don't work for other people, but that way of keeping that trading journal is one way to track it and figure it out. So that's super, super important. Period, I'm old enough where in the early years of my trading, when I did a trading journal and was figuring it out, we didn't really have all these fancy schmancy apps or anything like that to trade. So I just did it the old-fashioned way in like a journal book with, lined paper. But today, honestly, that's so cool. Like, if you could enter this stuff and be able to review it, and by the way, one of the things I think is before you go to sleep, review it, right? Because I think you go to sleep after reviewing it, and it kind of sits in your subconscious, and you kind of get into that. But yeah, I wish they had that kind of stuff and like show me cool like graphs and stuff, but I didn't have that. They didn't really have any investable income. Basically, I still remember vividly when I was younger, we went out to eat once a week to Friendlies, and it was on the kids eat free night, right? So I got to eat for free, and that's how we could afford it. And so I didn't really have any exposure to investing early in my childhood. I got to high school, and I was kind of getting ready for college. What am I going to do? I got to apply. I got to try to get scholarships to pay for this. And there was an investment club, and I'm like, oh, that would look good on my resume, on my thing for college. So I started doing it, and it happened to be late in the 90s when the dot-coms were going nuts. And for those of you that don't know about the dot-coms, it was basically like pre-crypto, but it was the same thing. Like a penny stock would go to 10 cents, to 30 cents, to $3, to $20. I mean, just incredible movement. And then of course it all collapsed. But I had my fake $100,000 account for this thing, and for some reason it was just in the midst of when this crazy bubble was brewing, and I turned that fake 100,000 into like 200 to 300,000. By the way, not doing it in the right way of diversifying at all, but it was addicting, right? It was like to me, I was like, wait a minute. If this was real money, could I really have just made 100K in a month, And so all of a sudden I was like addicted. I was like, all right, I'm the gambler here. I got this addiction. I have to figure this out. And so after college, I went for economics. I didn't really know how to get into trading. I didn't have any much money at that point. And so afterwards, I kind of got to this point where I went to MetLife, worked my first year there. I was in the investment division kind of thing, but they had me on the phones. I didn't do anything in regards to investing at all. Hated it. Cold calling was not my style. And then after a year, I quit. I had saved $10,000, and I just was like, all right, I'm going to go try to trade. And I went to a prop firm. They gave me 5 times leverage, so I had about $50,000 to trade on my $10,000. And I subsequently started losing money because I was a new trader, and that's what new traders do. I didn't really have any guides. I mean, there were a couple people in the office that traded as well, but they kind of were the same thing. They'd win some, and then they'd lose some. They weren't like making consistent money. And so as I was losing, right, so I had my 10,000, and then my loss would obviously come out of my 10,000, not out of the prop firm's money. So I would lose 3,000, 4,000. I was working 3 side jobs. I was a bartender at night. I was basically just busting my butt to try to replenish my trading account. And I did this for a few years, right? And I was just not giving up. I was like not giving up on my dream. Finally, I started to really study the charts, and I just spent day in, day out, nights looking at the charts when I wasn't working, and I started to see the repetition occurring in these charts. And that was really the time when things started to turn around, where I started to look at my own discipline, controlling my emotions, saying, okay, my chasing of these stocks when these stocks are running is not working. What can I do? How do I recognize to get into these before they run versus after they're already running? And that's really how it all started. And it was all about just self-reflection, discipline, and studying charts to where I got to that point where I slowly became a profitable trader. But like legit, it took me like 5 years before I became consistently profitable. And I lost, going back on it, I mean, if I could add up all the money I lost over that period, easily hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to get there. But at the same time, I look at it like this. Trading is the best career in the world. You can do it from your underwear in your house. You can do it from bed if you want on your laptop. And there are plenty of people that go to school and spend $500,000 to become a brain surgeon. And now I make more money than a brain surgeon, and I can do it from any place in the world. I can do it from home. It's an awesome thing, but it took a lot of energy and time. And so one of the things I love to do is I love to say to people, like, get educated, because that's gonna cut that loss down. Like, everyone's gonna pay the market, and you're gonna pay the market a ton more money than someone that actually knows what they're doing and following someone. So I would definitely say do it the cheaper route, which is to find someone legitimate and find out and learn from them. Stuff on social media, it's all BS, folks. Like I don't even have a Ferrari now. Like, I'm at the point where I could buy it, but I'm smart enough at this point to say, no, that's bad money management. I'm gonna pay off my house. I mean, I just bought a new house or whatever. I'm gonna pay it off. I'm gonna do smart things with my money, and I'm gonna use my money to trade more, because then I can make more. And yeah, maybe in a few years, I'll be like, all right, I'll buy myself a fancy Ferrari, but I'm gonna make sure I got 10, 20, 30 million in the bank before I do that, so that I know that if something bad happens, I am taken care of. Like money management for trading develops, and it goes to every aspect of your life, where you make smart decisions in every aspect. And I think that's so important, is that, you know, once you gain that discipline, it helps everything. It helps in all decision making, and it actually makes you just such a better overall manager of your financial portfolio in everything, not just stocks or not just crypto. Times and smacked down so many times, and I've done that. It sounds like you're the same way, that like my wife will order a bunch of stuff on Amazon and I'll still give her a little bit of a hard time, like, do you really need that? I mean, it might have been like 30 bucks, but I'm like, you know, you have this mentality where the market can take away your gains so quickly, and you've been burned, that like, even when you've got millions in the bank, you're still like, yo, this could go away from me, because I've experienced that so many times before, that you just in general are more careful. And it's actually a good thing from what just happened, because if you just make the same mistakes over and over again, you're never going to get anywhere. So you got to make sure you learn. That we talked about the trading journal. That's a way to do it. Learning the charts. The charts, again, are just so important to kind of give you that clarity. And basically what charts do is they're never going to be 100%. And I think this is a big fallacy. I've seen so many people like, oh, that one time Gareth said that, it didn't work out. So, oh, you know, technicals suck. It's like, dude, it's like, it's 80%, right? What that means is that 8 out of every 10 times you win, but you're still going to lose 2 times out of every 10. You're never going to get to 100%. Just like you saw that, you know, you see these crazy flashy photos on Facebook or on Instagram. It's BS. Like, a real trader knows that not everything is always going to work out, and you have to be prepared for that. And I go into every trade always thinking it could be that one loser, which keeps me more conservative, right? And that actually saves me from those big losses.